All right, we live. Yeah, we're live now. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. We got John Barry tonight. We're going to be talking about his new book, second edition, Western Hognose Snakes, aka the Plains Hognose Snake. And first things first, we'd like to give a big shout out to USARK fighting for your right and on all of our rights to keep the animals that we enjoy. So what USARK does is they fight poor legislation that imposes on our rights to own reptiles, as most of you are aware. So please donate to them if you can. If you see them at shows, you can support by buying merch. You can get memberships. There's pretty much a table at every one of the big expos. You can go to their website, usark.org. Great organization. And then coming up, we have Tinley Park. Tinley Park's coming up. I will be there. Dave's going to be there. It's kind of like, that's like one of the big three. If you've never been to Tinley, you have to find a way to at least come out one time. And I think it's March 14th and 15th. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, it's March 14th and 15th. And I'm at the first table right when you enter. Also, March 31st, I got a Hognose auction. So if you Morph Markets, it has a new live auction feature. So it's a live auction. So it's kind of like this, or like a live anywhere. If you go out live on Instagram, and there will be actual people joining during the live event, and you can bid on Hognose and win them in real time. Talk to us. We joke around a lot. Gets pretty rough in there, but it's a lot of fun. So, and that's March 31st. Just go to morphmarket.com. At the top option scroll bar where you see like auctions and other things, click live, scroll down, and then click the bell on the events that you would like to tune into or schedule to or get notifications from, including mine. You'll see it. It's big, colorful Hognose with a crown. So let's introduce everybody. We got John.
Hey guys. Hey Jeff.
Dave. Welcome, John.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Well, John, you've been keeping reptiles for a very long time. I guess let's go back with a little bit of short history. I believe, correct me if I'm mistaken, you grew up in South Africa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's start there. How long did you live there? It seems like a lot of people that grow up in South Africa seem to really like reptiles. There's a lot of people out of South Africa that are really into wildlife and animals, it seems like.
Yeah, well, I was born in the UK, but my parents immigrated to South Africa when I was like, 6 years old. So
okay.
When I was little, and it was. South Africa is a beautiful country, and there's a lot of wildlife there. So as kids, we used to spend our afternoons get on our bikes and just head out into, we would call it the bush. Basically, it was just into the forest, and we'd go look, and there was animals and monkeys and eagles and all kinds of stuff where we lived. So, and I was very fortunate that there was a very large reptile park, Transvaal Snake Park, quite close by. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of captive bred animals, but they were breeding, or they were attempting to breed some of the first, pythons in captivity. So you had Dave and Tracy Barker in the US, and breeding a lot of stuff. And Transvaal Snake Park were breeding animals. And so I got to work there and worked with some pretty famous herpetologists. It was a lot of fun. And did that for, all my teenage years. I used to go to the weekends and got into milking venomous snakes there, and it was so much fun. I decided to take a job there full time when I left school. So that was kind of my early introduction into reptiles.
Wow, so you're pretty involved then, right from a pretty young age. That's pretty cool that you had that, that facility there nearby that you could actually, get involved with. Pretty neat.
Absolutely. And, we'd get a lot at that stage. I'm kind of dating myself here, but I'm talking literally 50 years ago, and we had a lot of, it was before, there was no internet, there was no TV, but I grew up in this rich diet of National Geographic. And Nat Geo used to come out to South Africa to go and do tours. They were going out and, go to the wildlife parks and take photos, etc. There was a pretty famous herpetologist called Carl Heinz Switek. I don't know if you guys know Carl. He was the first guy he worked for National Geographic. He worked for Steinhardt Academy of Science in San Francisco. And Carl captured and brought back to the US the first green tree pythons, and they were actually gravid and they laid eggs on the way. And then Trooper Wash got the babies and sort of brought them up. So Carl would come out to Transvaal Snake Park a lot of the time and take photos for National Geographic, because we had all the venomous snakes there, because we were milking mambas, black mambas, green mambas, all the cobras, etc., all the vipers. And so I got to hang out with him quite a lot and went on a couple of, road trips while we were catching animals that he needed photos of. And it was like being chucked into this great big adventure, from an early age. So I was 18, 19 years old and having just like the time of my life, running around with all these, crazy guys and catching black mambas, milking them and letting them go again, etc. It was a lot of fun.
Were you guys
That's crazy.
only breeding in house back then, or was it just milking animals?
So, yeah, good question, Dave. So there was no captive bred animals, but we actually bred the first Angolan pythons in captivity. As I said, Dave and Tracy Barker, they were breeding a lot. They bred a lot of the pythons for the first time, but we bred the first Madagascan ground boas, the Sanzinias, in captivity. We bred the first Angolans. We bred, I remember we bred a normal ball python, just a normal. And, we didn't really know what we were doing. We used, like a light bulb in the cage here with the eggs and tissue paper, and we sprayed water. It was like hit and miss. And we bred everything. We'd collect cobra eggs and put them in there, and we'd hatch the stuff out. And we bred African rock pythons, the Nataliensis, the small one. We bred the first ones in captivity. So we were just at the very beginning of captive breeding, but there was no pet trade. Bob Clark hadn't come along yet, and there was no albino boas. All that happened way, way, way later.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That's pretty cool. I mean, too bad William would like to have been here. He brought up the African rock pythons. He's an African rock fan. And those are the southern African rocks.
Talked about breeding into a blood python the whole time. So I don't know if
that's me. That's me. I joke about John. I joke about pretty regularly that I want to see somebody hybridize a blood python with an African rock, because it'd be such an insane hybrid. Yeah. It would look cool, it would get huge, and it'd probably have a horrible disposition.
Yeah. We were actually I was really fortunate, because not only did I get to work for these cool animals and meet a lot of people, but we were sort of we were exchanging papers, scientific papers with herpetologists in Eastern Europe who just bred something or did something new. And then we get to contribute to papers. So I worked at the guy who owned the reptile park was called Rod Patterson. And Rod's he was quite a famous guy. He was in a lot of scientific papers, and Carl. And there was a crazy dude called Austin Stevens who had some programs, and everybody hates on him because he did stupid stuff in the programs. But he had Austin Stevens Adventures, and Austin was amazing with venomous snakes. If I had to, he would climb in the cage with wild black mambas and catch these things, because we had to milk them, because Nat Geo wanted to get photos, And it was a pretty wild time, but it was a lot of fun.
How often was Nat Geo coming out and taking pictures of these snakes you guys had at the facility? Because it sounds like there's a decent amount of crossover with Nat Geo and what you were doing and what these guys were doing at this facility too, that you worked with them.
Well, we were kind of one of the leading facilities, Transvaal Snake Park in the world at that stage, for breeding in captivity. We were doing some, early stuff that nobody else had done before. So I think the guys would love coming to South Africa as well, frankly. They would come out there. So we'd see them every 6 months. They would be out there, and, they would have to go and take photos of black rhino. And then they would take a couple of days up in Johannesburg, and they would come out to the reptile park and, come and take photos of any new stuff we had in. Because at that stage, we had a lot, all the little desert vipers as well, and berg adders and stuff that you just couldn't find these things in captivity anywhere else. It was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot. And then I went from there. I went to Germany to go work in a venom farm. We were milking venomous snakes for the medical industry. There was a lot of research in like the 80s into, can we use neurotoxic poison for pain meds? And so I spent about 18 months in Germany doing that. It was fun until I got bitten and nobody could understand me.
What did you get bitten by?
So I've had 4 venomous snake bites, all my own fault, all stupid stuff,
Oh, wow.
I was bitten by, first one was a rinkos, which is, do you guys know what a rinkos is? Hemochromos.
No, I don't.
It's like, we call it a false cobra. Basically, it looks like a cobra. It has a hood. It's got a neurotoxic venom, and it's found in southern Africa. And they get beautiful. Some of the bright ones are black and white striped, but generally they're black, ugly animals. And they sort of have to stand up and they throw their body forward to spit their venom out. So I was bitten by one of those because they've got this great habit of playing dead. So when you go to pick them up, a venomous snake, we used to, we didn't have gloves or any of the stuff they have today. So we were using tongs, and you would hold the animal by the tail, put its head in the floor, put your foot on its head, and then put your thumb down and grab it. So I go to put my thumb down, the animal plays dead, turns over, and I go pop straight onto the fang. Oh shit!
Wow,
not too good. And then I was bitten by a burgadder, which is Bitis atropus. It's one of those small little adders you only find in southern Africa. It's also got a neurotoxic poison. There's no serum against it. And then I was bitten by an Asian cobra when I worked in Germany. That was pretty crazy. I was milking the snake, and it got me in the thumb. So I go to this hospital, and I've got these doctors there who don't, I'm deep in, we're right up against East German border in the Harz Mountains. And these doctors didn't know anything about Asian snake bite for some reason. And, I'm trying to explain to them what's going on and what to expect. And that was pretty scary. And then I was bitten by a puff adder as well. I was bitten by a baby puff adder. Yeah, puff adder, Bitis arretans. It's kind of like a Western Diamondback minus the rattle. That was a pretty stupid bite. It was a baby, and it grabbed me on the hand as well. And then I gave up working with venomous snakes. I figured this is, before I got myself killed, it was pretty dumb.
Well, do you have all your fingers? Okay, good for you, man. Good for you.
Well, you're telling us about your history and back, stories of working with venomous. And before you started that story, I was like, wow. I was like, John's very healthy. He didn't die from a venomous snake bite here. So I was like, I guess he's never been bit. And then you're, I've been bit 4 times. Now, out of those 4, is there one that was the worst? Which one was the worst of those?
The puff adder. Puff adder's got like a cytotoxic, which is a cell-destroying venom. And it was a baby that bit me. It wasn't a big snake. It was, it gave birth, and there was all these live little babies running around. So I was taking them up the hook, and the one slipped, and I was in a hurry. So I used my hand like a moron. You just don't think. And the problem is, when you work with something dangerous, you do often enough, you sometimes get a little bit blasé. And in any case, it bit me. So my arm started swelling. The swelling goes up, and it goes up, and it goes up, and it goes up, and it goes up. And I'm thinking, shit, how far is this going to go? And it was about 3 weeks before I could close my hand into a fist again. It was pretty painful. So yeah, that was the worst bite by far. But I was very fortunate. I mean, I don't have any long-term damage. So
yeah. Yeah, that's actually impressive. That sounds terrible though, because I know some venomous snake bites can be very painful. So I forget what somebody said they got bit by. It was a snake. I can't remember which one. They said it's almost as bad as a beaded lizard. They said it's very painful.
A friend of mine was bitten by a Gila monster, and he said it was the most painful by far.
Those are very rough. All the stories I hear, the Gilas, they tend to want to clamp on, and so they seem to get more venom from the Gilas. Because the beadeds, I hear people like getting bit by. The beadeds seem to let go fairly quickly after they got a few good chomps in you and they got the venom in you. The Gilas, I've heard, they'll be on you for like a couple minutes and you're still trying to get them off of you sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, they're beautiful animals. So go ahead, Dave.
Oh, I was just saying, I had a buddy who got bit on the tip of his finger by a Gila 20 years ago. He says it still tingles when he touches the tip of his finger.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I've seen people do a lot of damage. I worked for a friend in Florida, and he was bitten by a western diamond. In fact, I don't know if it was an eastern diamondback or western diamondback. And his thumb is like permanently frozen. You know, like this. It was a bad bite. You know, so it's not. You know, venomous snakes. I think that you've really got to. I don't personally. This is personally. I won't. I think if you've got kids or you shouldn't have venomous snakes. I'm sure that this is not going to go down well with the venomous hot herp guys. But what's this more I'm talking about? But if you've got kids around, it's just not safe because you just need one. And animals do get out. They do get out of cages, and shit happens. So, in any case.
All right. Go ahead. I was just gonna ask this one, Dave, because I was gonna go on about and then ask basically John working with these venomous reptiles and what his next step was
yeah. Well, I was gonna say, how do you transition from venomous to you can't see the book because the green screen, but your designer morph book, of course. I just I have a green screen. The magic's not there, but
I got a few of them here, different ones, yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. Well, so what happened? I basically stopped working with reptiles full time, and I got into IT. It was like the boom early IT industry. So I bought a PC, and I started selling PCs and early networks for a living. And that's how I got to come to the US. I worked for a company called Semantic, the Norton antivirus company guys. I opened their office in South Africa and the Middle East, and so I was running the offices. So I kept animals as pets, but I wasn't doing it full time any longer. And so we moved to the US, and a buddy of mine had a pet boa constrictor. And we were talking one day. He said, "Oh, you're going to be interested. There's this reptile show, down in Richmond," because I was living in Newport News in Southern Virginia at the time. And I'm like, reptile show? What the heck's a reptile show? Reptile expo, Never been to one of those before. He says, "Yeah, come along." And so it's one of Larry Kenton's early shows, on the East Coast there. And so I walk in there, and there's like, all these animals that I've never, my eyes were on stilts because I'd worked with, Timor pythons in parks before. I'd never seen them as pets. And jungle carpets and I met Ian Nasdowski, from Outback, and he had some of the early morphs there, and Pete Carl was there with these albino boas, and I'm like, man, this is bizarre. And my wife, she's got like a calculator mind. She says, "Honey, you can breed snakes, can't you?" I said, yeah. She says, "How many eggs these animals have, and look at what they're selling for, and you can earn more money here out of our garage than you can flying around all over the world working for the stupid tech company that's got you on airplanes 7/24. So that's how I started breeding animals. And I bought a bunch. I went to go and see Ian, which was a real mistake. And I bought a bunch of ball pythons. And next minute, I had, a couple of hundred snakes. And it was, ball pythons and boas in the early days, and everything was going great. Then we moved to Florida, and I had a facility. I probably had about 1,000 snakes at the time, and that's when I wrote that first yellow book that you had, Dave, which is it's a pretty awful book. But I was talking to the late Brian Barczyk. And he said, I said, "Brian, there needs to be like a cookbook of how do you create all these different morphs." And he said, "No, there's nothing out there." So I said, "Well, I think of writing it, So he wrote the forward to the book, and I put the photos together, and it was a lot of fun, and launched it at Daytona, and everything was going great. And then I got a call from my immigration attorney, and they said, "Hey, you're illegal in the country. I said, what do you mean I'm illegal? They said, you work for a tech company. I said, no, I left the tech company. They said, well, your visa was tied to that tech company. And since you left it, you have 60 days to leave the country. So I'm like, what?
Oh, man.
So, I mean, today I wouldn't bother. I'd just stay.
No rules, buddy.
No rules, yeah. But so we've been here about 5 years, and we had I had a house, and all my snakes were breeding at the time, and I was having a lot of fun, and doing the Florida shows, etc. And it was like, well, where do I want to go? Do I want to go back to South Africa, or do I want to go back to the UK? And we thought, my wife and I spoke, and we said, we're going to go to the UK because, we've got daughters, and South Africa's kind of a little bit unsafe. It's like the Wild West. And we had a lot of friends that were shot there. And so we said, well, let's go to the UK. So we went to the UK, and that's where I met Michelle Klompers. And, I had a couple of albino hogs at that stage that I bought from Ben Siegel. Do you remember Ben down in Florida? So I've got those for Ben, and but I couldn't take them to the UK because I only had CITES for all of my my ball pythons at the time. Well, I could have taken them; they were non-CITES, but I didn't. I just took the ball pythons, and in any case, so that's kind of how I went around. I know that was a big, long story, but now you kind of understand the whole roadmap.
You're perfect for podcasts, buddy. Some people have 2-word answers, and they're horrible at this. As long as you like, but so let me just say this really quick, and then I'll give it to you, Junior. So I love going through old literature, old magazines from the hobby, and going in here, you're talking about how there's no combinations in Desert Ghost yet, but you see tons of potential there. You're talking about the zebra gene with Rhesus reptiles, and that was a gene that really didn't hit the market till about 6 years ago, where it actually started becoming big. And I think in those pictures, I don't even know if they were visual zebras or if they were just the reduced pattern hets he was making at that point. But I nerd out on this kind of stuff, man. I love looking at these books.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting because I do the same thing. I look at some of those old books, and do you guys know Stefan Brockheimer from Germany?
Yeah, I know of him. He used to do a lot of ball pythons. I remember a couple times he came over to Daytona to film, and I know he used to do some kind of like documentary, almost like footage.
That's right.
Before it was kind of popular, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, almost.
That's right. But so you look at some of his early stuff. So he wrote some of the early books, on ball pythons as well. And he had a very big business in Germany. If you would go to Ham, he would always have a really big table, with some amazing animals because he was importing from Africa, and he had all kinds. And of course, he sells a lot of supplies and stuff. And he would sell my books in Germany. But you look at Dave. You look at some of his early stuff, and this is going back 15 to 18 years ago, and you see some of the animals, you think, what happened to that morph? What happened to those genes? Or you see something that in those days was, well, this is an unknown, and today you recognize, oh, hang on a second, that looks like a freaking hurricane, or, a confusion, or, some of the new scrambler gene that we have today, that the guy's saying, look at this great new gene. No, dude, it's been around for ever. Nobody ran with it. Nobody knew what to do with it.
No,
yeah,
just like you're saying, Hurricane, Hurricane, now that we have genetic testing with RGI, we know that Trick and Blitz were the same thing. And for a minute there, you could have bought a Blitz or a Trick for $50, or you could buy a Hurricane for $7,500, and people are running out and buying Hurricanes for $7,500.
Yeah. So
the name probably helps. A lot of times it's the name, wow, Hurricane. It looks cool. It's new.
Yeah, it sounds cool, man. I got a Hurricane, yeah. So I've actually, Dave, Dr. Ben is actually working with me on the new book because I'm doing a ball python book now. I thought it was time I updated that, and he was going to work with me on the Hognose book, but he just got too busy. And we couldn't connect to make it work. And I took so long on that ball pipe, on this last Hognose book. I thought, man, I just got to get the thing to market and get it out, So, but I got hold of him, and he's a treasure. He's fantastic because I got him with all kinds of crazy stuff. And he must think, this guy's a bit of a moron, why doesn't he know that stuff? But, he's the geneticist. So, I'm eyeballing them and, because I can see stuff. I can see there's something there, but I don't know what they are. And he says, oh, well, this is, it's a hurricane. It's the same as a trick. Okay, cool. Thank you, dude.
Yeah. But we still don't have any idea what scrambler is, but at least we know that's right.
Well, I tell you, I mean, the scrambler is cool, man. I've got some the stuff, the images I'm getting from Chris, and I'm hoping to get some from Mark Mandick. They're producing some really good animals. He's just got I don't know if I should be talking about it or not, but he's just got some scrambler. He's working on that test now. He just got some skins in from Europe and I guess from Mark in Canada. But yeah, it's all fun.
I've heard of the scrambler stuff. I've seen it at shows, and then just actually this past Southeast Expo, I had a little bit of time, and normally I'm not like, but I was kind of looking at ball pythons there, and I asked, I think it was the Jersey guy's ball. He showed me some of them. I just kind of asked, and he was just excited to bring them out, and he showed me some of the scrambler stuff, and it's like kind of like almost reminds me of like a low key, like, I don't know, like distorted pattern, like Orange Dream, where it's like, it's very nuanced. It's hard to tell, but like once it's in combos, you got this like really beautiful example, and the pattern seems to be a little askew, and it's like, more colorful, and it seems to emphasize on the oranges and the contrast. And so, yeah, but they're kind of, I was like, well, what does a scrambler look like just as a scrambler? And they're all like pretty much like the two people I asked are pretty much like nothing. They're like hard to tell. I can tell you have them in something. So yeah. It's interesting. It almost reminds me a little bit of like, I mean, it may not. The scrambler does seem to be pretty strong, but like RBE pastel, where it kind of follows like toffee belly stuff around. And if you get these really pretty animals, like, from your toffee belly stuff, it's pretty much like this RBE lineage where you get these very pretty, kind of color enhancing individuals, and it's kind of hard to put your finger on because people are like, well, what's the descriptive characteristics of this RB pastel? And it's like, well, it's so nuanced, but also like, it depends on like what your individual, like if you have really red ones, well, now the red is like, influenced by that RBE, and now the red may not necessarily be part of the RB, but it also kind of is, because it's enhancing it and it's playing with the color. And then you're getting these ones that are more gold, or these ones that are like, again, like more pastel-y, which the name comes from, where it's a really light background and it seems to make the animals really pretty. And it just follows around the toffee belly stuff. So it has this motive inheritance where it's kind of like just always consistently showing up with toffee belly stuff. And so it can lead people to believe, hey, this kind of does seem like a dominant. But once you start seeing it's kind of nuanced and it's just kind of always there, it's always following it around. And it's like, okay, well, it seems to be like almost like attached to the recessive toffee gene, but it appears to be like a polygenic because it's like very influential if you line breed it and stuff. So, and there's one question here. It's been here for a bit, and it's basically on genetics because, we're going to be talking about your book and everything. And what are the best genetics to get into this year, in your opinion? So it depends if you're talking about ball pythons, hognose snakes. If you want my smart ass answer, most of them. Get into a lot of them. They're very fun. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do.
I always say to people, Jeff, and I'm just going to circle back. We'll answer that question, then I want to circle back what you're talking about, a moment ago with, the toffee belly and the scramble, etc. But yeah, I mean, basically, my answer to people is get into what you enjoy. Get the best animals you can. And I don't think there's like, well, what are the best genes? I mean, I love lavenders. I think lavenders, no matter what you put them in, but you've got to have good looking lavenders, because there's a big difference between good looking lavenders and mediocre looking lavenders. And if you spend the money to buy the better looking animals, it'll pay dividends way down the line, because, you're going to have brighter, it's like a lot of your stuff is really good, because you don't, obviously, if you get crappy snakes, you get rid of them, and you selectively breed the best stuff. So I mean, I love the cinnamons. I think they're really cool. I think lavenders are cool. I love caramels. I mean, caramel albinos, I think there's a lot still to be done with them. I think as combos go, my favorite, look, I'm a little bit biased, but I like mercuries. I think there's a lot to be done with mercuries, and I think some mercury conda, super arctic stuff is there's just so much you can do. So it's a hard question to answer, but again, it depends what your budget is as well. if you only got $500, don't be trying to buy some high-end cinnamon stuff. But just go to Jeff at the show, and I'm sure he'll steer you in the right direction.
Yeah, I'll be at a show tomorrow. So for the person that asked that question, just come to the Hamburg Reptile show tomorrow. I'm sure it's very close where you live. I don't know where they're from, but obviously they're probably not anywhere near there.
Yeah.
So, you were talking lavender back in the day. Like, I remember Excalibur was always considered the best in some people's eyes. Other people argued that the Ralph Davis line was better. I think even I don't know if the Bells had a line, but I think Tracy had her own line, the VPI line of lavender. You don't really see people identifying where their lineage came from anymore. Like, it's kind of just a hodgepodge now, I find.
Yeah, it's really from lavender hognose to lavender ball pythons. Right?
I was talking about lavender hognoses, actually.
I thought you were a ball python.
No. We're hognosing right now.
Within the hognose stuff, Dave. Keep up here, dude.
That's cool. I'm just gonna. I'll see you guys in a minute. You guys do you.
No, I'm kidding. Come back.
His mind's just on ball pythons. That's okay. I knew what he was thinking, so we caught him. We got him.
How about this? I think that cinnamon hognose are one of the more unique genes when I was at your house, based on some of the pairings I saw.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
They're
cinnamon
odd.
That's very cool. They're nice.
All right, and Chase wanted to ask you, John. We haven't kind of got it. This is actually a pretty good question. Since you have kept venomous, you've kept a bunch of different reptile species. You've had pythons. I don't know how many you may have even had lizards. I know you talk about. Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know everything you've kept. I know you're a big boa guy. And what was your favorite species to keep? Say hognose.
Oh, my favorite species. Apart from my dog. So my favorite species of snake. I love capondros. I'll be honest. I had an amazing capondro, and when I left the US to move to the UK, I gave it to Brian Barczyk, and he called it Pedro. It was in a lot of his, snake bite stuff. I love keeping I had my own line of blood boas, berry blood boas, and the small, bright red ones. I got some from Tracy Bark, had their line, and I managed to pop up my own. I love keeping those, because I just love the color and they're small. And I like. Do you guys remember the yellow green tree pythons, the coffee owl ones? People call it the canary green trees.
The canary yellow stuff. Yeah, I talked to Forrest Fanning and me used to talk about that kind of stuff all the time back in the day. He had a couple in his possession when I was over there.
Amazing. So again, I had a pair of them that I got from Ben. Paid a fortune at the time, and I didn't have CITES for him, so I just gave him to Brian, and he had, I don't know what happened to him eventually, but they were amazing animals. So but in terms of easy keeping, hognoses are, you don't get easier than keeping a hognose. It's a small cage, you can make it look cool, they don't need a lot of space, they don't want to eat you. Well, they do, but they can't do anything about it. And hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys a question really quick? How's my volume? Am I yelling at you too much, or should I yell louder?
No, you're pretty good.
You're good.
Yeah, the yelling doesn't really seem like
the top of my lungs over here. I just want to make sure it's not too loud over there.
No, it's like
good. It's good.
Yeah, it's actually good. You're gonna have to keep shouting.
I saw John lean in earlier. I could tell I must be quiet, so now I'm yelling.
No. It's my back. I'll be honest with you. You guys know I've been fighting cancer for a couple of years. So and I've got some on my spine, and it hurts like hell. So I'm just trying to stretch it. And that's all. It's not you. Don't worry about it. I'm fine. I don't need putty. I'm good.
All right. Well, that's we didn't really want to touch too much on that because we're just focused on this. But yeah, we're glad that you're doing very, very well, John. Because that's one concern we have, and that's what I was like, I don't know if I want to bring that up, but yeah, it's very good that you're here. I'd love to have you here and everything, and sharing your stories.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I don't mind talking about it. It's fine, but treatments have been a real bitch, some of it, but I'm doing fine now. I'm doing fine. My hair's growing back. I lost a lot of my hair. That was the worst thing, man. You have chemo and your hair falls out.
Yeah, this isn't chemo, buddy. This is genetics.
Well, mine's all growing back now, so in a few, because I'm on a different type of radiation treatment now. So because the chemo didn't work for me. So, in any case, I'm good. And I'll be at, if anyone wants to know, I'll be at NARBC in Dallas. I'll be on Eslin's table, exotic
cool.
hogs. I'll be signing books there. So, cool.
All right, yeah. So you guys can see John Barry at the NARBC Dallas show. And when is that, John?
The NARBC show in Dallas. It's the 7th and 8th of next month. It's like 2 weeks time.
All right, in 2 weeks, and you'll be at Exotic Firehogs, Eslin's table. You'll have some Hognose of your own. You still have some Hognose still?
Yeah, I got a few left. Eslin basically, when I couldn't look after them when I was really ill about a year ago, he took everything kindly and looked after them for me, and he's been selling them for me. So, yeah, he's a good dude. He's been so helpful.
Good, yeah. Eslin's nice. I hear a lot of good stuff from him.
Yeah.
All right,
John.
have a reminder on something, and then we'll talk Hognose. So with the berry bloods, it remind me, was that you bred a blood to a Nicaraguan import and had one pop up, or was it you bred a couple Nicaraguans together and you made a blood?
No, I know. So it's what you're correct. I basically had I got this super orange Nicaraguan from Ben Siegel. And it was like an amazing animal. I walked there one day and said, "What the heck is that?" He said, "Oh, it's just this, Nicaraguan we got in." And so I said, "Right, I'm going to take it." So I bought the animal, and she was big enough to breed. So I'd only had her a short while, and I threw one of Tracy's VPI line bloods on her, and it popped up, blood. So I was like, "What am I looking at here?" It was like, does lightning hit strike twice? Because that's Ron was the only one that had him like years ago, and of course now other people have got him. So my line is a bit of a hybrid there, with the VPI. But then I sort of line bred them to get better red ones, better red, etc. And then unfortunately when I moved back to the US, when I got my green card and I moved back here, I sold. There's a guy called Peter Rice in the UK. Peter has a lot of retics and venomous stuff, and he bought a lot of my. In fact, he bought the last of guys in Germany bought a bunch, but Peter bought the last of my berry bloodline.
Actually, the funny thing is, Dave, we're going to talk about you had a question. We'll talk about hogs. Actually, I was going to ask John about the boas for a bit, since Dave's a big boa guy. And
okay,
John,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Dave's a big boa dude.
Yeah, sadly, boas are really what got me in the game. I got some lipstick lineage animals from Tom Burke in 2004, and then I went to Rich Eiley for some salmon boas that were Posset albino, and that 1.3 kind of got the whole thing started for me. And then after that, I got some nice red rum stuff from Anthony for the VPIs. I started breeding that heavily about a decade ago. I got a picked litter from his very first red rum VPI litter he ever produced. And boa is sadly, I did have some of your lineage back in the day, and I know there are people out there with it. I know Chaz with Low Key Boas still labels his animals berry bloods, which is really cool to see. But kind of like what you're saying, there's kind of some things even in the boa community that we've lost over the years.
Yeah, so basically, most of mine were sold in Germany, and I see people here selling boas, and I've seen, just a berry blood, and I think, hell, it's not. That's a piece of crap. I mean, what is that? Did you breed a head to a head to a head to get the brownest, crappiest blood boa? My stuff was red. That was the whole point. I sort of line bred them to get really red, and they were red. I mean, it was that orange snake, whatever gene she had, she passed it on. So there was a little bit of line breeding, with the genetics there. But the guys in Germany, if you go to Ham and you walk around, you see berry blood on quite a few of the of the blood boas. So the guys in Europe kind of stuck with it, whereas in the US there were more blood boas that different lines that came up. And I'll be honest, I've sort of got out of boas. I haven't really kept up with it. You just can't do everything. And so I've kind of I haven't looked. I mean, I look at boa stuff and it's amazing as well. It's like, but
Yep, that's all right, man. Well, your animal is definitely an iconic animal in the community. Like I said, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, I remember talking about it. So, just one of those stories I always enjoyed.
Cool, man.
Yeah. You've had a lot of history in the reptile community, so that's it's another good addition. Last 2 weeks ago, we had Rob Zirkle, and it's cool because we hear people that have been around for a while, and you have a lot of backstories and history in the community and stuff. And so that's one cool thing about doing these, podcasts. We get to document this stuff, and hopefully we get to ask, like, and we think of at the time the best, or some good questions, to try to capture some of these, moments and some information from you. So yeah, because we had a lot of, especially newer people listening to this stuff and whatnot. So John, is there going to be a third edition to Hognose, or you think the second edition is like, it's like, I'll tell you what.
You know what? It depends on you, Jeff. I mean, honestly, it depends on how many more. When somebody discovers pieds and all these, the cool stuff. Just to actually circle back to what I wanted to talk about earlier when you spoke about, the toffee. But the cool thing that I like, working when you work with ball pythons, hognoses are kind of, to me, where ball pythons were 15 years ago. So if you look at where, ball pythons, do you remember in the early 2000s, we had, pastels and ghosts and albinos and pieds and I think, clowns, but there weren't a lot. And then EMEA had the yellow bellies, they came out and nobody could identify the freaking things. And then, we had fires, etc. And then there was like this massive explosion where everybody thought they had a new morph and half of them didn't. And it was one of the reasons why I didn't actually update, after I did this book here in Germany, which was ball pythons and boas. I get it in the right place. I don't know if you seen this one, Dave?
Yeah.
I think he has it.
He ran away.
Yeah, I think he has it.
You got it. Okay, yeah. So this we sold, thousands of these all over the world. And it was a great book, and I printed it with Chimera. Unfortunately, the buggers went and they reprinted it. So is yours a hardcover or a soft cover?
Hardcover, sir.
Hardcover, okay. It's one of the originals, yeah. Because they went and they reprinted it without my permission. They printed a whole lot of soft cover ones. And so, in any case, I've got nothing more to do with them. But, there were all of a sudden all of these new ball python morphs. And, this is before we had shed testing. And I wouldn't go to breeders and say, dude, you've got a chocolate. I mean, the snake's already out there. Stop giving it a new names. Don't try and bullshit people. It's like, no, this is a new morph and it's my line and you don't understand. And what do you know? And I'm like, just get out of here, So it
happens, yeah.
Pythons. But now we got shed testing. A lot of that crap will go away because we can kind of, put them into the correct categories, which is what I'm trying to do in the new book. But the cool thing, Jeff, is, we sort of look at where, with this explosion of new morphs, real ones, as we've seen ball pythons, we're going to have that in hogs. So we will have another, dozen, 15 new real morphs eventually. And when that happens, obviously I got to write a version 3.
Well, with ball pythons, it's interesting because it seems like certain species of snakes are more prone to just throw more genetic mutations, and hognose they definitely seem to be one of those species. The only thing I think we won't see like a ton just because there's not so many being taken, from the wild, which is like, there's a lot of good things and bad things about that. But I strongly believe and speculate that there's a ton of hognose mutations in the wild. These are very reclusive, small, semi-fossorial snakes that a lot of times have a layer of almost like soot on them. Because I've actually caught some and then had some from the wild, and then when they shed out, they looked quite a bit different. And you can see that their sheds are actually kind of stained with the loamy soil that they were inhabiting. And part of that was too, probably the time of the year I found them. But anyway, I don't think the color mutations inhibit their ability to live that much like ball pythons, where they can find adult, mutations in the wild. Like if you find an adult piebald ball python, or even the candy and stuff, the candy and toffees, those were found as adults. And that's why I had Richard Evans on, and that was a question, and I already kind of knew the answer. I was like, how big were the pink pastel and the albino hognose, and what sexes were they when they were brought in from the wild? And he goes, yeah, they were maybe 12 to 14 inches, and they were both males. So these were like, and he goes, the one was already kind of like breeding size. So these were, of course, snakes that hatched in the wild. The one was a pink pastel albino, which is kind of known to be a weaker mutation, but now has actually made a lot of strides and does a lot better. And you look at a pink pastel albino, they kind of do, like, if you look naturally, a pink pastel albino is just like so much more pale and faint. It looks like it might be a little weaker in the wild. That would be, I think, but they did fine. It's like you found it like almost like 14 inches long in the wild. And there's a very, I think, small sample size of hognose in captivity in the community that were actually bred, that started from, wild caught stuff originally. Like how many of these wild caught hognose are people actually breeding and then getting their genetics and bloodlines into the pet trade? I'd say it probably started with about like 3,000 hognose. And look how many mutations we have from this relatively small sample size. But it'd be great if, I don't want to see any taken like too much in the wild, but new bloodlines. And if somebody does find a morph, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of, mutations in them. And it's kind of interesting because ball pythons do seem to have this overwhelming amount of mutations. But like you're saying, John, and it's like, well, a lot of these mutations are actually the same. And it happens in like even like the leopard gecko community. It's similar. It's like, these human behaviors aren't really too unique to just one community. They'll be like, oh, I got this new bloodline of leopard gecko, but here is some shit that somebody, it's been around for fucking ever.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. There's a different, it's like, well, it's the same bloodline, but they outcrossed it. And they're like, oh, no, it's new. It's a little different looking. And I guess it is fun to try to put these names on stuff. And, people want to have their lineages. But we also need to, like, calm down sometimes. Once you start seeing there's too many, or there's people just belting them out and they're like, clearly the same, there's an issue.
Yeah. I totally agree with what you're saying. With a small sample size, with not that many animals being taken, hogs from the wild. But I still believe that, as I'm sure you do, there's. I think that there will be more genes, new morphs found, and some of them will be pretty spectacular. We just don't know what we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Hognose community, though, completely different just on how these mutations are coming up. But you know what? The lavender popped out of two normals being bred together. The everyone almost
the Swiss
did that way. What's his name's the sable? No, not sable.
Yeah, the sable. Here's the story behind the sable. Dan Eby caught a hognose near this pond in this one area. Just like just one little piece of habitat. And he said his cousin, like about so many months later, got this new car. And he goes, hey, man, I got this souped up ricer. You want to go drive it up and down these roads real fast? And he's like, yeah. So they're driving. And he's like, they're near that area. And he goes, hey, I got to piss. So he let him out. He walked down to the pond area and he looked down and there's a male hognose. And he had already had a female from that area. He grabbed that male hognose. He bred them together. They ended up making the first sable. And he told me after that, he found two more hognose in that area and bred them into a sable stuff, and they happened not to be het. So just coincidentally, he is there at the right time, got the right hets. David Turcotte bought a pair of hognose from somebody at a Louisiana show, and it was like, that would have been like earlier mid-2000s. And the funny thing is that seems like not that long ago. And because I remember like, early mid-2000s, it was like, whoa, this is like, future. We have smartphones and stuff coming out. This is nuts, and but if you look at like the reptile community and hobby, it actually was like treading, like coming along. But like for hognose, like early mid-2000s, if you had hognose, there weren't that many generations from wild caught stuff. There was still a decent amount of wild caught hognose and wild caught like lineage animals early 2000s. Actually, like a lot. Kind of miss it. Craig Trumbauer having locales and seeing these other guys' locales really cool. But yeah, then Jules Toth, he got a trio from a pet store. They ended up just being Het Swiss chocolate. You hear enough of these stories. Some people are going to be inspired just to go out and buy random normal hognose and start breeding them together. Because if you get lucky, you're going to have a cool morph in you, and probably about $500,000.
Your Arctic picked up at a show.
I picked it out. Yeah, I picked it out. Yeah, the story got kind of like the story. Sometimes the way I've told it kind of confused people, and then it gets like pass along. But yeah, originally I picked up an Arctic because like.
Just give me 1 second. I've got a heat on in the background and I'm kind of cooking myself here. I'm coming back.
Oh yeah, you're fine. You're fine. And so yeah, the Arctic, like I was at a show and I was looking for Hognose and I was, already planning to breed them. I already had a few. I was like 12 or 13 at the time. I already bred a couple Hognose. I had them like 10-gallon aquariums. And this one was really pretty. And I was like, I want that one. And I remember I almost didn't buy it because I bought it. And then it was $60. I asked the guy if he'd take 50. And I got out 50. And the guy goes, I said 55. I was like, oh, okay. So I gave him 55. And I said, man, I could have sworn he said $50. So I told my dad about it. And he got real mad. He goes, we're taking that snake back. This is the Arctic, too. I remember this clearly. Wow. And I was like, no, please. And then my dad, he goes, fine. I was like, because I'm not sure. I told him, I was like, I'm not, I think he did. I was like, but I really, really want this Hognose. He goes, okay, fine. And I don't know if I've ever really repeated that part because it's one I kind of forgot about, but I very clearly remember it. And I ended up breeding her into my Lemon Ghost stuff. And then later on, I started getting some results where I'm like, oh, these are weird. So I set them aside. And they ended up being Arctics. And, and I remember I asked some people, like, yeah, it seems like I have like a dominant trait. I'm getting like, people are like, at that time, you'd listen to people sometimes. And then I quickly learned that you don't want to listen to actually sometimes a lot of people. You want to listen to like somebody who's been around for a long time, but you also want to do your own research because sometimes there's some biases. And these people are like, there's no dominant traits in cooler-brids. Like you only see these in like pythons and stuff. And it's like, at the same time, it's like, this is like still pretty early. Anybody at any time should have been around, like if you're like 2002, 2003. It's like, listen, who the fuck's actually been breeding and keeping reptiles really that long? Like, 20-year veterans were still pretty like, rare. Like, the breeding reptiles is like didn't really start to become thing in the hobby until like the late 70s, 80s. Like there was some like breedings in zoos and stuff, but it's pretty uncommon. But anyway. There is a lot of, and the thing is, I think we've seen that bigger influx, and then we've seen some results of, people getting mutations. Then the toffee belly stuff popped up, and that popped up from normals. Richard Evans, his first hypos were produced from collecting eggs from a wild caught female that was gravid. She laid eggs, hatched them out. There's a hypo in it.
Amazing.
Yeah. So there's all these ties to originally, here's the thing, and we talked about this before, Dave, and this is an interesting one, John. If a mutation pops up, there's a good chance, especially with something like, let's say, a ball python or hognose snake, that the mutation is like, if it, does come out, like, let's say, a visual. Like, obviously, the first albino stuff's made is actually not an albino. The first mutation is going to be a het albino. And a het albino will have no problem passing on its genes. But it seems like a lot of times these mutations don't really have that. They're not that inhibited by surviving because clearly they're being found, like, as adults and stuff, healthy. And so it's like, okay, this animal can actively breed. And so, there could be an albino male hognose actively breeding a female in the wild. It would be pretty insane to come across. You'd probably do like a triple take on that one. Yeah. And so like, they had a picture of like an adult, what appeared to be like a snow, which is going to sound insane, Mexican hognose. And there's one book, this guy showed it to me, a friend of mine. And I didn't believe him. But there's a lot of axanthics in that population. But the thing is, these genes, these mutant genes, pop up, and most of them are able to survive and don't really inhibit their ability to live so much. So those genes pass on. So let's say like the leucistic gene in hognose, that might be thousands of years old. That population of leucistic stuff may have been there like 10,000 years ago. Same with these ball pythons. If a piebald or there's het pieds, running around thousands of years ago and they're passing on their genes, there's nothing, especially for the hets, to be taken out. So those hets are always going to exist, and every now and then they're going to be back to each other. There's going to be some natural overlap of inbreeding in these wild locales, and you're going to get these results. But yeah, I think there's a lot of mutations of hognose in the wild. There might be like dozens of them. There might be like 20 to 40, 50 new mutations throughout the central parts of the United States in these little pocket localities. Just good luck finding them. Finding a hognose as it is fucking tough. Just finding a normal is hard.
No, you're right. Yeah, I agree. There's definitely a lot more morphs out there, and at some stage we are going to get like that explosion of them, I think, because people are going to start to think, hey, maybe we probably got people listening to this right now thinking, hey, there's a locality down here. I live in, middle of the country. I'm just going to go there because that's the place you're going to find them, Jeff. Is you're going to find them in different localities. I think. Talking about looking at old photos, I remember seeing. I don't know where it was, but I came across this picture of a Mexican hognose, and it was the most amazing woma. But it was a Mexican hognose, and it's this woma-looking animal. I think, where the hell is this animal? I mean, whose animal is this? Where did it come from? And never managed to track it down. This was a couple of years ago, and I thought, man, I got to track it down and find out. I've got to get hold of it. And so there's wild-looking woma-type Mexican hognoses just floating around in the wild.
Yeah, the plains hognose too. There was one on iNaturalist in North Dakota, in your little Teddy Roosevelt National Park or whatever it's called. Teddy Roosevelt National Park. I think it's called Little National. I don't know. Anyway, there was one in Texas. And actually there's Richard Evans had one that was he called it Jungle. And it's in that Reptiles magazine article of June 2000. And it's got this Woma-esque kind of pattern. It's kind of blotchy. Wow. And the funny thing is, I have animals from that bloodline. I have it documented in my one little notebook when I was 16 years old. And it wasn't really yellow, greenish, thick, and it was jungle pattern. That's what he called them. And I crossed those into my lemon ghost stuff. And so that definitely, had some influence with my Woma bloodline animals, that I ended up, producing pretty much around that time. I wish I documented more of this stuff when I was young. I never thought it'd be that crucial or I would really care or anybody else would care. So I kind of stopped writing in it and I kind of didn't, some points I take it seriously. But yeah, I wish I did more of that because I had some stuff where when I was 2003, 2004, buying stuff from Craig Trumbauer, buying some stuff from Richard Evans. And so I wrote that down, some of it, very little bit of it, but I have some of that.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean personally, I really love the woma patterns. I think nice womas are just super looking animals, and
yeah, they're pretty. Yeah.
Have you made woma lavender womas?
No, not well. Here's the funny thing is, actually, I just made this coral anaconda, Arctic coral anaconda. It's one of my most pretty, beautiful ones. And the funny thing is, it looks just like one of my Woma anacondas. And so I should have just I already know people are going to ask, but I'm all right, I'm just going to post it. So I posted my stories and I had about 5 to 8 people ask hey, is that a Woma? And I'm no, it just really, really looks like one. I mean, it kind of gives you an idea of what a coral, at least Woma is going to look like. And it looks amazing, of course. I think the Woma stuff is, you kind of what we're both thinking, John. It's this nice, big, wide, beautiful banded pattern, and it looks really good. If you see a naturally just banded snake in general, usually it's that's a really pretty pattern. And so hognose, we have this we have, of course we know what their typical pattern looks like. So when you get that big, bold, wobbly blotch, and yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna look good with all morph combos. I don't have any actual lavenders. I do have some lavenders that have a little bit of Woma LG stuff, but not anything crazy. Most for Woma stuff that I have really high expression, really high quality. I have albino, and actually I have a couple xanthics, and what else? Sable, and I'm working on more.
So you see, I'm gonna have to write a third book.
Yes. All right, let's get on it. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Call it early. We're gonna work. What do you think?
Well, with the Woma stuff for years, when you talked about it, you always kept it within your LG stuff. You never really were trying to get it into every other color. You were just trying to line breed it to make them their best for years.
Yeah, and some people would ask me, and it's it's a very valid question, and it's people are why don't you have more Woma or Woma LG combos? They're you're a hognose breeder, you're not completely stupid. Why don't you have more of these? And the reason is because, man, I did this with a lot of stuff. When you make a polygenic, variant or lineage, and let's say you breed it for 4, 5, 6 years, and you can really judge these things by their strength. You can see, especially when you outcross them, how strong they are. And my main goal with the LG and Woma stuff was to get them strong as humanly or not, or hognosely possible, strong as hognosely possible before I outcrossed them. So that's why I have such good results. That's why when I can take a pure Woma, these pure Womas, they start to kind of look like carbon copies because they are so well selectively line bred. This is a polygenic kind of characteristic that's kind of hard to achieve strong consistency in. So once you have something that multiple generation is ultra strong consistency, and I can take one of my pure Womas and breed it to a sunburst, and immediately, let's say 20% of babies come out Woma pattern, it's like boom. Now when you outcross stuff and you breed it back, you're going to be getting way higher quality results versus if you're using like a weaker diluted version or it's not super strong and you're outcrossing it. Well, now you got something that's strong that's being outcrossed, that's being diluted, and you're going to be doing a lot of work. So my big thing was I'm trying to make them so strong.
That's so the very first question we had, like what gene should I go into? Dude, that's the answer. We just told you, here's the project. Go and get yourself some really cool Womas and outcross them and try and get them into the best color lavenders or some corals, and you could make a killing because that's a great project to dedicate 5, 6, 8 years to.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, John. Like that's because you even mentioned it. It's a great one to dedicate time to. You gave it a higher time or horizon, and that's because polygenic stuff, and that's the one thing that scares some people away. It takes a lot of patience. It's more of a marathon. See, you can do mutations. You could get an incomplete dominant. Boom, breed it. You're picking them out. With this lemon ghost stuff, this red animals, really any, polygenic, trait, it's a, if you want to really like get into it, it's kind of like a form of art. You're selectively line breeding for the characteristics you want. You're looking for certain like nuances and changes. And that's the thing that's how Woma appeared. Your line breeding and stuff, you get a more unique characteristic or something that's a little different, and you can start line breeding for that. And so that's why I kind of broke up my lemon ghost stuff, and I had like different, essentially lineages that were all tied to the initial animals. But like my Woma stuff, when I was line breeding it, I wasn't as hyper focused on color. The main goal was good green and yellow colors, but pattern was the most important. With my really good lemon ghost, pattern, of course, isn't as important. It was color. And originally I was line breeding them, and I liked that they had yellow bellies because my original male LG, like the one that started it, he had a high yellow belly.
I think you got photo. You sent me photo. He's in the first book.
You have some early ones. The first book you have. There's a couple LGs.
Great photos in the first book. I can't remember. I've just got to tell a story from the first book that's quite funny. Because Jeff, I didn't know you, and I was in the UK, and I think I told you the story last time, but I think people like it. I phoned up. I wanted to get photos from you, and I was talking to Ramo and who was the other dude, the guys in Germany who were
that's Philip and Ramo.
Yeah. So they said, no, you got to get photos from Jeff. Jeff's in America. So okay, all right. So I spoke to your dad because you didn't answer me. You didn't answer my emails or whatever. Yeah, I probably emailed you or something. And your dad came through and he said, Jeff, and you were sleeping, and he told you there's a guy who's writing a book and he wants photos, and eventually he sent me. So I thought, no, this guy's not going to send me anything. He's a bozo. And then you sent me all these really cool photos.
It was like, I remember. I think it was around like 1 p.m. too. Yeah, my dad.
It was probably some ridiculous time because I was in Europe and I wasn't really thinking about time. So I do apologize for waking you up.
No, I think you called midday. I just sleep. Like you may have even called. Maybe it was around like I just sleep in. Like I don't wake up early that much. Yeah. I like your first book that they have shadow stuff because you have some of the original shadow stuff, and the shadow stuff actually originated in Europe, and it's just really that one's one that's kind of lost. All right, here's some of the good LG pictures. They actually are good pictures for me. Wow. Well, this top one and this bottom one, I think my friend Tim Jasinski took these pictures. Tim he's a pretty good photographer. He's a friend of mine. All right, here's the pictures, guys. Uh-oh.
Yeah, but the belly's amazing. I mean, absolutely incredible, amazing.
Oh, his hotel light don't work? What, are you kidding me? They got a light right here. And it's oh, there we go. All right, everybody.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, stop what you're doing
I mean, that was incredible.
and look.
I mean, the belly on that animal is like killer.
This one we didn't get like the full, but that one I remember this dude. His belly was like full that color. His was like that rich like golden yellow and orange. This one is more hypo-y.
Yeah. Hey Jeff, just turn to page 189 in that book.
All right.
And have a look at that snake there. 189.
This is fun.
You know, the audience
the first
Hognose book.
Oh, 189. Okay.
Yeah, 189. Have you got the unproven yellow morph?
Yes. That reminds me of like a New Mexico or like far west Texas locale. That looks like a New Mexico, kind of like what they'd call like blondes. That kind of looks like almost like a blonde variant.
It was amazing looking snake. I mean, this photo doesn't do it justice, but I found the animal and it's more sort of yellowy green.
Yeah, it looks like greens are hard to capture. It looks like it has very green saddles.
It had green saddles, and I just basically, gave it somebody. And again, it's lost. It's like, I don't know what happened to it. It's gone now in the industry. So somebody has it in there. Somebody bred it or never bred it. Who knows?
Right.
And I wish I'd kept it to breed.
There was a lot of those. Remember the blonde hognose? Remember people used to talk about blondes, and you'd always see blonde. Like that was like before. As I was working on Lemon Ghost stuff, there were yellow hognose, and they were always referred to as blondes. And so that was like the only other real lineage of yellow was blondes. And right now we don't. There is really no other lineage of yellows. There's greens, but really the only thing is like Lemon Ghost because nobody else has really worked on yellows. And if anybody did get a yellow hognose later on, they're just like, I'm just going to get a Lemon Ghost. And so then there's, but there is sometimes pretty wild, nice hognoses in the wild that you see that have high yellow, especially in West Texas. Every now and then I've seen some pretty yellow ones in the wild. Like you just go on iNatural, so like every now and then there's like, oh, that one's got some good color to it. Even in Kansas, somebody found one in Kansas that has pretty yellow ones.
So you've got one of those pirate copies of the book. It's a soft cover one.
Yeah, it's the soft cover. I got
Soft, yeah. No, that's the one that the buggers went and printed without telling me. That's supposed to be a hardcover book, you see.
Well, you know what it is? It's like it's not the softest covered. It's like a middle cover.
I know, but it was funny because, and I said to them, I contacted them, I said, hey, you reprinted my book. How many did you reprint? You owe me some money, guys. I mean, I own the copyright to the book. You can't just go print the book.
Yeah, what did they say?
Oh, we couldn't get hold of you. Like, what? That's your excuse? You couldn't get hold of me? Are you freaking mad? Pay
kind
me.
Of funny.
They never paid
Did they give
me.
you some money?
No, they never gave me any money. So that was the publisher Tomira. So that's why I said, now I'm just doing it myself,
Yeah, fuck those guys.
Yeah, and I'm quite happy with the soft cover on the new edition. I mean, it's
I like it.
I think that the color on this new edition is pretty good. So, by the way, if anybody wants to get the book, can we tell them where to get it, Jeff?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you got 2 copies here. You got first edition, second edition.
Well, first one's out of stock. You can't buy it unless you go on eBay or something. Yeah, it's
very
gone.
collectible then.
Very collectible. But I gave my last. I had a hardcover copy. Last one I had, and I gave it to Eslan for looking after my animals. So I think he was quite happy. But in any case, if you just go to my page on Instagram or on Facebook, there's a link to my Shopify store. It's basically designer/morphs.shopify.com. And but you can actually just go to John Berry Designer Morphs on Instagram, and the link's at the top of the page in my bio, and then you can get the book.
There you go, John Berry Designer Morphs books. You're also actually, John, I did want to get some books from you, extra ones, and take them to reptile shows to sell. So I can cause some people there's just so much stuff online anymore. Everybody's overstimulated, so they're like, oh, I didn't even know there's a book. I didn't know this. So if I have some with me, especially I go to these shows, I'll be like, And then you can get one if you go to the Dallas show coming up. John's going to be here. I'm going to point there. Other. John's going to be here. He's going to be at the Dallas show.
Yeah, I'll be there. But
Yeah.
I mean, I could. Oh, Jeff, that's very kind. I can definitely send you some books if you. I've got the guys in the UK because I haven't figured out overseas shipping yet. I mean, I've had a lot of hospital stuff going on, so it's kind of took me off track for a bit. But basically, at the moment, I'm only shipping US. So the guys in the UK were so fed up with me taking my time, so they said, just send us 30 books at a time, and we'll just pass them out to the people who need them here. So I've got 60 books going off to the UK next week, so they can they can keep them happy there. But
Brent said there's Ted Thompson had all the blondes. There was other people with blondes too, Brent. I was around then. There just wasn't him. There's other people with blondes. I seen him on King Snake forums.
Do you remember King Snake?
Yeah, King Snake was great. I didn't really partake. Well, here's the thing. We did ads and stuff, my dad and I, but I was on King Snake a lot. I would like browse the forums, but I wasn't social back then. I was just a kid. So, I was just eavesdrop. I would go into the Hognose forums all the time. And I remember that's the first time I see stuff from like Dan Eby. And I'd like to look for just people posting wild Hognose, just wild locale Hognose or interesting looking Hognose. And you'd see like people with like, I was actually more interested in apologenics because you could get these, unusual variants versus if somebody had an albino, it's like, okay, it's an albino. And it's like, that's cool. I want to see it. But unless you have something, that's unusual about it, everybody's is like somewhat similar, in a way. So I was very attracted to like trying to find stuff on those because every now and then you'd hit some pretty cool, Hognose gold where somebody would be like, oh yeah, I have this Hognose, and it'd be like a cool yellow or a green. And I remember some people in the UK had some pretty unusual stuff. There was this one, John, if somebody, Brent will remember this one. It looked like it was genetic too. They called it Stonewash. Is a Hognose. There's a guy in the UK with it, and I remember he talked to me in. Was
it Stuart? There was Pete Folsham. He made all the thermostats in the UK, and his partner Stuart was really into hogs, and he had some really amazing animals.
Okay,
could have been.
Was Stuart Raby?
I can't remember Stuart's last name. He was into frogs and lizards a lot, but he loved hogs. And I don't know, he was buying from somebody here wild animals, wild stuff from the US and bringing them in and breeding them. So, and he produced some of those sort of like really brick red hogs, some really cool stuff. But,
Rob Piley has his lineage of reds and stuff. I love talking to Rob. I talk to him here and there.
Rob got them from Stuart. He got them from Stuart.
You got those from Stuart? So those were the reds because when you said that, it reminded me of that. It's like, okay, that's okay. So Stuart got the reds in, and
I think I don't know what he called them. No, I can't remember what he called the damn animals. But yeah, that's where Rob got them from.
Interesting.
But the cool thing, David's been trying to ask a question here for like.
No. Honestly,
you gotta yell, Dave. You gotta be more aggressive this time.
I'm visual effects. I try not to talk too much. I just sit back and enjoy.
No, what was your question?
No, you guys are doing great. We'll segue into David a little bit. You take your time. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say, so have you guys been to Ham?
I've been there a few times.
I mean, it's an amazing show, and the really cool thing is, you walk around, and there's these little breeders in like the Czech Republic, or in Eastern Europe, and there's like they've got just some amazing animals that you just haven't seen, and they're not really social, they're not always online, and I mean, it's a lot easier now, but you could find some in gold, just amazing stuff, just walking around, little guys, just not little guys. I mean, people that got a nice collection, but they had stuff that they would be working with. I remember when I worked in Germany, and when I was at the Venom Lab there, we went into East Germany, and at that time was like the communism. They had the war there, and I got myself arrested by the East Germans. It was pretty cool, but
wow,
at the time it wasn't cool. It was pretty serious. I was kind of shitting myself, but we would go in there. We would buy snakes from guys in Eastern Europe and from Russia, and because they seem to have access to a lot of stuff that wasn't in the West. I don't know where they got it from. Maybe they didn't care about sanctions and stuff. I think that's kind of like cowboys. They just brought it in, but we bought a bunch of stuff there and brought it back into Europe. That just rat snakes and stuff that you just didn't find anywhere else. And then when you come to the US, it was like, okay, well, nobody really cares about these. Nobody breeds them, etc. So you get a lot of really different stuff in Europe. It's actually fun from that point of view.
I remember going over there, and you'd find these small like hobbyists that they just liked breeding for the sake of breeding, and they had some cool stuff, and they didn't really post anything anywhere. Yep. Social media was kind of like I guess like. Was Facebook even around it? Like when I guess it was when I was first over there. Facebook definitely was, because when I first went there I was 19 years old, so that was like 19 years ago because I'm 38. And yeah, there's some cool stuff, and yeah, I always liked that. Even like Daytona, that's one thing I did miss. Like some of these old school keepers, and like actually, you know what, John, I kind of had that feeling again at one show. The Tucson show in Arizona was kind of like that. It's kind of like out in the middle of there. Even the Southwest Airlines, they're like, we don't have an X-ray machine. We're tearing up over your shit and looking in it. I'm like, what? I'm like, how do we have an X-ray machine? It's 2025. I'm like, we don't. I'm like, all right. But there's a lot of old school breeders and like herpers there. And, you've seen some like there was some tables like, oh, I never even heard of this person. And they had a bunch of cool colubrids. And I really liked that. Like when I was first going to Daytona, and then even going to Ham, Germany, where there's these people that have like, they have like a little collection of Chihuahuas they're breeding, or whatever. You see some leopard gecko breeders over there, Hognose guys and stuff that had like Mikkel Klumpers. I remember he had like caramel stuff, and there it wasn't really there was some in the U.S. Actually, the first person in the U.S. to have caramels was that I'm aware of was Brian Barczyk.
Oh, really? I didn't know Brian. Yeah.
He did have one. Yeah. Because I remember the first time I actually ever seen one in person was at his place, and then the next time was when I was in Ham, Germany.
Well, it was Michelle that got me into hogs, because he came up and he told me I should write a book on hognoses, and I laughed at him. I said, "Are you kidding me? Nobody keeps hognoses. There's no morphs." He said, "No, you got to come to my place." So. And he didn't really let a lot of people go to his place. So I said, well, let me come take some photos. So I went down there and I stayed at, he had I don't know if you know, but he owns a garden center. He's got this amazing garden center. And his house next door, he has his snake room there. And he had a lot of super amazing animals, Jeff. He said he'd open the drawers like, what is this, And he had a lot of the caramel things. So he's a good guy.
Yeah,
and he's a big guy, but there's a lot of little guys there as well that you say they just have like weird stuff that nobody really even keeps in the US, or you just find different morphs and stuff that just they're breeding, and it's their little collection. They're so proud of it, and you can go and then you find these guys are very knowledgeable quite often. They've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, it's like cause I mentioned, leopard geckos, and it's probably like, it's like leopard geckos, but over there they had like, Turkmenicus, Montanus, Fasciolatus. So they had these locales, and they had subspecies, the first like, Iranian, like giant, leopard geckos, Angramanu, the first like captive ones was over there, in Europe and stuff. And they had East Indian leopard geckos. The Samprentices is a newer one. And you see them in Europe first. It's like we know how they got them, but but anyway, yeah, they're in captivity now, and it's like it's cool. Yeah, it's like it's a little population of like this.
That's what I'm saying. The rules don't apply in Eastern Europe. They're like rules. What rules?
Right. Yeah, and they're like, yeah, this is like cool. We want to own it, and it's like, yeah, it's not like they're trying to like take a ton of them and resell them. They just want to establish them. They're like, oh, I want to work with this species because it's
We got a lot of feedback here from somewhere. Is it my mic or
might be yours? Hold on, let me mute me and see what's up.
Dave? No, it's gone. It's on Jeff's side, I think. It's gone now. The sound is.
we won't worry about that. Now it's about me and you, buddy.
Actually, I think
I can still talk. I can just mute and
No,
unmute.
you sound like shit. Mute yourself, buddy. I can't take this buzz anymore. I'm joking. I can't hear anything. So, John, at what point in the hobby did you transition into hognose? Like, what piqued your interest at what point?
So, I was living in Florida in early 2000s, and I basically went into Ben Siegel's store. Ben Siegel was a guy, breeder or a pet store owner down in Boynton Beach, and he had these little. I used to go and buy ball pythons. He would bring, because he didn't import, strictly did, but he would get a lot of stuff. And I would go there with another guy, John Dvorak's, and we would basically go and look through all the stuff and pick out all the crazy looking morphs. And basically, the one day I was in there and I opened a cage and there was some little albino hogs in there that he had for somebody else. And I spent a lot of money with him. I told him, you get anything cool in, you just give me a cool and I'll come and buy it. And so I picked up this pair of albino hogs, and it was then when I was basically told I had to leave the country. So I left them with a friend of mine in Florida. I don't know what happened to them eventually. I just took my ball pythons with me when I moved to the UK, and I sent them actually to Brian. Brian Barczyk looked after my collection, and then he sort of sent the animals over. When I had cages and racks in UK. But and then I was at Ham and I met Michelle Klompers, and that must have been 2004, I think, 2004. And I met him at the show there, or 2003, I can't remember. It was actually before I was living there full time, because I went over on a visit. And he basically told me I should write about hogs, and I laughed at him. I said, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!" No one's interested in hogs. And that's why I went to his place and I saw his collection, and I started realizing, oh, there's a big world beyond, pythons, these little colubrids that I had seen. And then I remember the first time I went to Donington, one of the shows. I think it was Donington, was one of the shows in the UK, and I was speaking there. And so I decided to give a talk on hognoses, and they all thought I was crazy. And people laughed. They literally, "You're going to talk about what? No one's interested in hognoses." I mean, they're literally, "Come on, you're a boa guy. Talk about boas. Talk about ball pythons. Talk about." But I persisted with it and started reading them, and it was, I hadn't. It was, there wasn't a lot of stuff around in those days. I remember getting my first caramels from Michelle, and then I went to Ramo and Stefan and got my first toffee bellies from them, and then Brent sent me over an anaconda, and I started building this cool little collection. And then when I got my green card, I sold all my hogs off or most of them off in the UK, and moved back to the US. So unfortunately, I've had to downsize my collection because I've moved all over the world, a lot of times, which is pretty, it's hard to build a collection when you keep on doing that. And I ended up losing some really good animals that I should have hung on to, like my coffee owl, yellow green trees, which I can't replace now. But yeah, so that's how I pretty much got into hogs.
Okay. So you could have just said they're little hook noses, but I liked all that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, that's actually pretty cool snakes. And so, and the cool thing is, I remember, ball pythons, people would come and see me in the UK to buy boas or ball pythons, because I was breeding both, and I would show them the hogs. And I converted a lot of people into keeping hogs. I mean, the crazy thing is as well, how many people actually write me and they say, "Hey, we got your book, and your book got me into breeding." In fact, Eslan, Jeff, that's basically one of the, I started talking to him. He said, he said, "Your book really got me into breeding hognoses." I said, "You're kidding."
Oh, it's good to hear. You're doing hogs work, man.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Cool,
Again,
man.
you guys go out there and get these books. This one you're gonna have a hard time getting the first.
Yeah, it's only on eBay.
Collectibles.
It's only on eBay. There's a few of them. People are going for stupid prices, but there are a few of them out there.
Do you think there's a chance that company's gonna pirate the book again so I could get it cheaper maybe in a couple months?
Yeah, maybe they're listening to this and they're like, oh, those reprinted again. They'll always say we didn't hear from John.
No.
Do it
This time I
again.
got smart, Dave. So I own the copyright. I've got the files. You know, I designed the cover. I wrote the book. I did the layout. I did everything. And I've got all the books. You know, I've got like a big pallet in my garage full of freaking books. And I'm not sending them to distributors. You know, these guys. Oh yeah, we're gonna sell them for you at reptile shows, and but I want the book at half price. No. Oh no. Jeff's gonna do it for free because he's a nice guy. He doesn't want to buy.
Yes, that's what
He just wants to get some
For
books
free.
out there.
Well, actually, if I sell these, I'm not gonna. Yeah, it's not for money. It's just to offer people a cool book because, like, some people ask, "Hey, do you have is there a Hognose book around?" I wrote a Reptiles magazine article more recently, and I think they published it in 2 parts. And I get people that ask for stuff like that. They want a Hognose book or Hognose information. But I was thinking about completing mine and making mine kind of like a Hognose like breeder like kind of manual book. I'm not going to really call it a book, maybe just a magazine. I think I'm just going to print something that's just breeding information and stuff, you know, and things that I've learned over the years or whatever. But yeah, the Hognose books are great. There's not many of them out there. You know, this is a great addition to, you know, collection. You know, if you're a Hognose breeder, Hognose keeper, Hognose lover. You know, and then John's gonna be working on his 3rd edition, and you know, we're all gonna love to help chip in. Brent's here; he has a lot of information and history, and I think that's a cool part of this, John, that people are going to be becoming more interested in as the Hognose community grows. Is the original history of this stuff, you know, and some of that's getting lost, like you know, kind of like the Stonewash Hognose. I'd like to actually find that guy. He had like 6 or 7 of them. They kind of looked like cinnamons. The thing is, it's like an old memory, but I remember they were definitely different, you know. And I remember the very last time I heard of that from that dude was like around 2014, 2015. Brent remembered him. So I remember he goes, "Oh yeah." And then the shadows, the original shadows are from the UK, and there's like a picture in your 1st edition, and it shows like some of the initial shadows because you know Shadow was discovered over there in Europe. So some of this information almost gets kind of lost, and so the information is very useful. So, and I know. 1 second.
Jeff, there's a lot of feedback from you. I think it's from your mic. I don't know if you can move it or it's like sounds like we got aliens on the line here. Can you hear that, Dave, or is it only me?
No, I can't hear anything.
You can't.
Do I sound okay?
Yeah, you sound fine. It's Jeff's line, and I'm not certain. Maybe if I can maybe mute mine or something.
You're okay. Here's the problem. Actually, I'm just using my stupid Apple, and I was like, man, I was so tired. I drove out here, and I didn't get to sleep, and so I took a nap. And then we couldn't check into the hotel for like almost a half an hour. There's this big like mess up with like the booking. Anyway, I think I should have my mic with me, but it's in my friggin' car, I think.
Don't worry. As long as you guys can hear, it's fine. You know, I'll speak to Dave in the meanwhile.
Yeah. Talk to Dave. So, you know, so did you ever do any stuff with like Ron St. Pierre back in the day down in Florida? Because I know he was big into like finding things in import bags, going down to Strictly. I always enjoy talking to Ron.
Yeah, I like talking to Ron. Ron's a good dude. You know, he had his bloods, and then he you know, he was doing a lot of stuff with tegus and lizards as well. And then he got I think he was allergic to mice or something because he sort of sold up because he lived quite close to where I lived in Loxahatchee in Florida. And then he sold up and moved. So I mean, I know Ron pretty well, but it wasn't during the early days. It was the latter, you know, it was later on that kind of, you know, met him, and but I used to go to Strictly as well and look for animals, and they would let us go in there and dig around in all the cages and look for the new imports, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, being in southern Florida with a lot of that stuff being imported, it was a good place to be.
No, for sure. That was a weird. So, for me, John, I've always said I'm very morph motivated in the hobby. I love the paint jobs. I love the crossing genes, seeing what weird stuff pops up. I think that's always been one of the reasons I've always enjoyed your books, because I've just always enjoyed the paint jobs, I guess the way of putting it. Like,
Cool.
I find it very motivating to cross things together, try to make something pretty, maybe make something ugly while you're doing it.
Dave, you know what I'm going to do? I think if I log off and log back in again, if that is that possible? Do I need Jeff to do that? Because the sound has gone really crazy.
It's getting worse.
Yeah, you might have to log off. Yeah. So basically just rejoin, and that'll add you to stage. So just leave and then rejoin.
All right, I'm just going to close this window down, and I'll rejoin. Okay, I'll be back in a minute, guys.
All right, this guy says, talk about how the morph market auctions are ruining the hognose market. Well, there's some truth to that. When people auction off stuff like incessantly, and there's people that aren't able to just constantly bid up to market price, and a lot of people are looking for a good deal, and some people aren't even going to be available or aware that the auction is even going on. Yeah, you definitely. Okay, we got John Barry back on. How's that, John?
Oh, that's better. Clear. Oh, great. Now I can hear you guys.
Well, I was actually getting my keys. I was about to I was listening to what you guys are saying, and I was going to make a mad dash to my car, try to get the microphone because I think it's in the back. I forgot to bring it up.
We're good, Jeff. Thanks. It was obviously on my side. Somehow something happened, but we're good.
Okay. All right, good. Yeah, everybody says that the volume's good now.
So, where were we?
Yeah, we were just talking about the boa stuff. You asked me about Ron, and I was saying,
forget about Ron. We don't give a shit about Ron. We can talk about anything other than Ron. So
this guy wants to talk about how the morph market auctions are ruining the hognose market.
We're not talking about that either. That's a different conversation. John doesn't give a shit about that either.
Yeah, I know. John's not exactly. It's like this person's obviously there's this is Eric. This is a topic.
I don't even breed snakes anymore. I mean, it's so wild to not have any animals. It's like crazy, but I'm feeling a lot better now, and I could do that. And I keep on looking at all these animals, thinking, man, I got to get into it again. And I thought, stop that! You're not going to do that.
Mercury stuff. I don't know. It's fun. You just keep a few. I mean, you're involved in it. You're part of the community. You're going to be working on your 3rd edition designer morphs book. Do you used to have a few hognose left still? Do you? I know you're selling some with Estlin or through Estlin. I were on his table.
I've got here Percy. I have nothing. I got rid of all my racks, cages. I got rid of everything, Jeff, because I was A year ago, my family thought I was dying. I mean, I was really, really, really ill. But I'm actually doing a lot better now.
Good. You sound great.
I see him an oncologist, and he said, "You don't look like a cancer patient." I said, "Well, I don't feel like one. I'm not going to. I mean, I don't know where you guys are, but I believe in prayer, and I'm a Christian, so I have people pray for me, and I'm taking the right. I'm going through this new experimental drug, which has really made me feel good. So I'll see if I survive, and I should do. Maybe I'll get some more animals again."
So, cool. Yeah. The power of positivity. You ever hear of people like Jim Rohn, like Bob Proctor? Bob Proctor was really great.
I don't know who he is, but yeah, I'm going to beat this crap. It's any case. But I think if I do, the challenge is what do I keep? I would love to get another Capondro. I'd love to get some Capondros, some green trees, get some hog. The problem is, it's like going into a toy shop. Okay, I've got nothing. Where do I start?
There's so many choices now too. The choices are insane. There's so much cool stuff, and now the stuff is becoming more affordable. And there's some like you can get like a really nice Arctic sunburst for like $500, like a crazy bright animal. You can get snow hognose.
Prices on that.
Yeah, I mean,
but you know, Jeff,
it's still good.
I always, I've always tried to breed stuff that other people don't breed, because I breed stuff that I like. And I also, think as a sales guy, I think, well, what can I breed that not everybody's got, that is different and interesting?
Yeah.
And so, like we were talking earlier about the WOMA project, I mean, that's the kind of thing I would get into. I'd say, right, let me get some cool WOMAs, and let me get, take that as a project. So this is going to be my next big project.
It's smart thinking. Polygenic stuff too is like it's one of those projects too that takes patience, and anything that takes more patience, it has a better usually payoff and payout, and a little more rewarding results, like for some. But yeah, those projects have more longevity because they take a lot of pursuit and they take a lot of time and effort. It's not just like I'm gonna take my Arctic anaconda and breed it to all this stuff, make all these heads and breed them back, and boom, now I have them. I mean, that's still a lot of hard work, and it's still hard to hit these mutations, and there's still a lot of art and fun and statistics in that. But the polygenic stuff is very, very fun to manipulate and line breed.
It is. Dave, so go ahead, Dave. You had a question?
Well, I was just going to ask you, is there a species you ever wanted to keep that you never had a chance to keep?
I've worked with so many different snakes and lizards, and I don't really think so. I mean, I'll be honest. I've kept. I like some cool hybrid things. I had a burn ball in Europe. That was like a really amazing animal. It just got pretty cool. So I'd like to have a burn ball morph, but like a super asphalt banana burn ball. Wow.
That'd be beautiful. See, some people are so anti-hybrid. It makes no sense. They're like, these animals are in captivity, people.
No, they're cool, man.
Documentation. They're cool. And it's also, there is some scientific, aspect to it, too. Because, how many people would have thought, 30 years ago, you could hybridize that? If I went back in time 35 years ago, and I went to a reptile show, and I was like, hey, I'm going to buy this ball python. I'm going to breed to a Burmese and hybridize it. They'd all laugh in my face. They'd probably be laughing so hard, spit particles from their mouths would be hitting me in the face as they're fucking making fun of me for wanting. But yeah, then Woma python to ball python, that worked. Yeah. Very surprising that these hybrids are.
Yeah, absolutely.
The wall,
yeah. The wall, yeah. But I mean, Angolans. I don't think you should be, crossbreeding Angolans because they're rare and they're like one of my amazing species. But angry balls are amazing. The Angolan ball python, just freaking amazing. Some of the
Reptile Collective, Steve Beamer, a guy in Nashville, he still does Angolan ball python crosses. He puts different morphs into them. I'll get you some pictures and send them over, but he's a guy that kind of stuck it out and kind of kept with it over the years.
Oh, that'd be good. That'd be really cool. Yeah, I mean, could you email me? That would be brilliant. I don't know. I don't really know Steve. I don't. I've met so many people, and it's embarrassing. I don't want to say I don't know the guy because he might say,
Steve's
we know each other.
Important. You don't have to know Steve either. You knew Ryan. That's big. Yeah.
There's some guy in Canada, I believe, who's doing hybrids, ball python hybrids, and he's got some amazing. I saw him on Instagram a couple of times. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Well, I remember Rhesus Reptiles. I think they did bumblebee blood python crosses back in the day. And
they did a whole. What is it? Yeah, they did a whole lot. But there was some dude in Canada, and he's got some really amazing looking hybrids. And so so that's what I do. I'll probably do some hybrids. And again, as you say, Jeff, if people have got a problem with it, hey, don't buy it. Just walk on, go and catch us, go and do something else.
If you have a problem with hybrids, I say fix your attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me tell you a little secret I talk about in here sometime, John. You're going to like this. So I've got a blood ball female, and last year we bred a spot-nosed banana ball python to it. We bred an angry ball to it. And I bred a Woma python to it. and I got 3 giant slugs.
Well, I mean, with that combo, it's no wonder. But yeah, you're not gonna hit it every time, which is why the hybrids. But I think they're cool. Percy, it's not for everybody. But my Capondros, they were just. I mean, my Capondro, I only had the one. It was just amazing animal. I just loved the animal. If you go on my Facebook page. He's in the top there. There's a greeny blue looking snake there.
I the White Plains show back in the day, and probably like 2003 or 2004, I saw an Amazon tree broa to an emerald, which made some of the reddest, most gorgeous animals you've ever seen. And there was also the Chihuahua crested gecko combo was there. It was a very red animal. I almost wondered if some of the red lineage, maybe somebody did that cross and then like started putting them back in on crested geckos. But yeah, I like all that stuff. I think there's always been a place in the hobby for it. And
can you wait? Where's my phone? Can you see that?
Yeah, kinda.
So looks like if you go on my Facebook page,
yeah, get it real close. Keep on going. Yeah.
It was green, blue. I mean, amazing looking animal. Just go on my.
That's a Carpondro.
It's a Capondro, yeah.
Yeah.
And I gave that one to Brian.
Oh, those are so pretty.
He called it Pedro, and he had a lot of his early shows.
Okay.
Freaking amazing animal. Just beautiful. I bought it from. I didn't breed it. I can't claim that, but I bought it from Ben Siegel.
All right, John. I didn't know that you liked hybrids so much. I think they're interesting. Clayton, Mesozoic. He always does Pueblan, like Honduran milk hybrids, which is like. But then what did he do? Oh, he did a Mexican Black King to like. I think a Thera. No, it wasn't. Maybe it was.
Is that a Great Dane? Sorry, is that a Great Dane you got?
No, it's a wine runner, but it's a blue phase.
I thought it was I love Great Danes. Sorry, Jeff. I thought it was
a
Great
Dane.
It
is a big dog.
Okay.
Well, the position where the dog is too. It's given the image.
Oh, I can see now.
It looks Great Dane size.
It's about the angles. It makes him look bigger.
Yeah. It's like fish pictures.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, Jeff. You were.
Oh, you're okay. But yeah, Clayton. He has these like. He had a Mexican Black King. Man, I wish I knew what it was. Mexican Black King times like. Man, was it like Honduran milk? They looked so cool though. Whatever it was, or maybe as the Tessera corn snake. I can't remember what it was. I was like, man, these are so cool. And he just smiled. He goes, yeah, aren't they? I was like, man, I don't know why people dog these. I was like, everybody's just being, if you're honest with it, it's like, what's the deal? And since you are friends with other hybrid people, John, please get the word out. Somebody please breed an African rock python to a blood python. That's one thing I really want to see. I don't have like really anything on my bucket list other than seeing that. I want to see somebody do that.
That will be pretty wild. That would be pretty wild.
That one really good one I saw the other day. So everybody knows Shane. I can't put things up to the screen. I'm gonna have to send it to you. He did a hybrid to hybrid breeding. The yield is going to be 37.5% Timor, 62.5% reticulated python, and 37.5% Kalatoa blood. Sunfire tiger, HOGS. I can't remember what that means. 50% Posset purple. You get all that?
Yeah, I got it all.
Okay.
Yeah, once you email me, Dave. I mean, frankly, I think that some hybrids don't make sense because retics on their own are great, and if you've got space, that's really cool. I like something that's manageable. I don't need a 20-foot snake in my life anymore. I've been there, done that. And Timor, have you ever worked with Timors before? Timor pythons are amazing. They're beautiful.
I had them for a little bit. I ended up coming off them. I had a friend who wanted them, and he talked me out of them one day. But it is something that I've wanted to work with. It's a species maybe later on I'll pick up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of like that with. In fact, you asked me the one I like Angolans. Angolans for me are like just beautiful animals.
Those are cool.
They're really, 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 really cool.
We work with Angolans. The girlfriend's been breeding them a little bit. We do
Okay.
ultrasound, so we do cheat a little bit, and we have been. Both females are building. We don't have a ton. I think we only have like one male, a couple breeder females, and a couple more females we're raising up.
Yeah, they're actually really cool. They're really amazing animals. Yeah, that's the problem. It's like where do you go, because there's so many animals, and you can end up so diversified. You've kind of got to focus. You got to be a Jeff. You can't be a I'm going to keep a million different animals. Well, you can if you're just keeping them as pets, but that's just a lot of work.
So, has anybody ever seen a mutation for an Angolan python?
A mutation? No, not that I'm aware of. Not, I mean, very few of them. Again, going back to the hogs coming out of the wild. Angola is. I don't know if you know, but I mean, there was a civil war there for many years. My younger brother ended up fighting over there, and so there's been a civil war going on there, and it's a pretty wild place, pretty inhospitable. The northern Namibia. You've kind of got, it's very arid, you've got desert. And so you get some of the pythons in that rocky, deserty type area. So there's not a lot being collected from the wild. So no, I've never seen any morphs, but that would be pretty sweet. But I mean, frankly, just on their own, I think they're amazing animals.
No,
they're very pretty.
Sorry.
They're very pretty.
Oh, I was gonna say, well, yeah, because it's interesting because Angolan pythons are the closest relative, like obviously to ball pythons. You can tell by their physical appearance, their anatomical characteristics. So I wonder if they're like, if you did search for tens of thousands of Angolans, like how many morphs there'd be in the wild. You'd think that Angolans would probably have a decent amount of mutations, maybe similar to ball python, maybe not as extreme. I don't know how large the Angolan python, range is.
Yeah. So I think first of all, I doubt if there's even 10,000 Angolan ball pythons in the wild. Jeff, I think they're pretty.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, no, they're pretty rare. In fact, their site is I don't know what CITES they are, but they're you'd have to look them up, but they're pretty rare animals because of the environment they're in, which is it's not a friendly environment, and then you've had a war going on there, and then there's oil a lot of oil being drilled out the ground there, and the guys in Africa, when they they don't give a crap about the environment, they just go wild, and there's probably oil all over the damn place there, so yeah, I know. There's probably, my guess is that there's more Angolan pythons in captivity than there are in the wild.
Oh, wow.
Just a guess. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Which is why I was freaked out the first time I saw people, basically creating hybrids.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Do you know how rare these things are? But they're pretty sweet animals.
Yeah, we're not going to hybridize ours. We're going to keep ours pure, but we do have one, but we bought that animal for the record.
Right. The angry ball?
Yeah, the angry ball. We have I have a male angry ball, and then the blood ball combo that was at the Super Bowl, I think they used to call it maybe. But yeah, we have that pair. I don't know if we're going to keep it. The female, I've bred her multiple years, multiple different ways, and I've just never got a viable clutch out of her. So I don't really know what to do with them. I can either keep them as pets or send them on their way.
Yeah, they're pretty. Did Russo produce those?
Not the one that I got. I can't even remember who I got that from. I think it was like a random pickup at the South Carolina or the Columbia show in South Carolina. Pet store owner had a blood and a ball python living together, and got a clutch and showed up at the show with them one time.
Wow, amazing!
They had that happen one time too, but just something random I picked up back in the day doing the Repticons.
Wow, crazy.
John, do you have a favorite mutation of hognose snakes? I think I know what it is already, but what's your favorite color mutation?
My favorite color well, I mean, I love lavenders, as I've said several times. I love lavenders. I love caramel albinos. But my actual favorite, if I had to think of my actual favorite morph, I mean, I would say, oh heck, I mean, some of the Mercury. Have you seen the Mercury Arctic condor Mercuries?
I have not. I seen somebody like hit a Mercury sable over in China like about 8 months ago. I'd like to
Some
see
of
the
those are
progression
pretty.
on that.
Some of those are pretty sweet. I mean, the problem is,
I have one
I have a
Mercury.
favorite today, and then tomorrow I have another favorite. When I was getting photos, Jeff, for the book from different breeders, I was going through stuff and thinking, "Dang, that's a nice snake. Dang, that's a nice snake. That's my favorite. That's my favorite. That's my favorite." So, no, I just like a bunch of them.
Yeah, that's a good answer. That's like it is kind of hard to, because there's just so many cool contrasting colors and unique snakes.
Was it is it Stormtrooper, the Xanthic sable?
Stormcloud.
Stormcloud. I'm sorry, I always call it Trooper, but
Yeah.
some of those early pictures, that blue is so hard to get in any mutation, any
It
species.
is.
That's always been one of my favorite combos.
Correct. I agree. Very, very sweet.
They're
animal.
decently blue as babies. As they get older, they don't really have much of a. The funny thing is, like my adult Stormclouds, I'm like, they don't really like look blue. But then if you put them on aspen bedding, and you put like a normal Hognose next to them, like, oh, they kind of look bluish now.
Well,
they have like this kind of bluish-esque hue that's like real faint. It's like LaCroix blue as adults.
If you look at if you go just go onto my Facebook page and you'll see that Capondro. I mean, he was blue as an adult. He had like blue coming through, so it was really very sweet looking animal.
All right, I'm gonna check out that Carpondro. Better picture.
Yeah. If you just go,
there you go, John Barry.
Is there any way you think the Stormcloud could be more blue? Like, would that take breeding red into it? Like, is there a way?
Lemon Ghost. So you're getting the greens. You're trying to put a green color spectrum in there, and the Xanthic remove the yellow. I don't think it would do much though. Now I have some Stormclouds as babies that are very, very blue, and then there's another gene that I would think would actually probably make it blue too.
Is it cinnamon?
If you have I haven't seen, but if you have it in a super Arctic, Jeff, that would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, because super Arctic actually helps with blue tones. Well, like a super Arctic, like
some of them can.
Yeah, super Arctic sables are pretty blue. Some of them. That's I named them like 3 years after I produced the first one. I just was like never gonna name it, and I was like, well, I was like, it was like 3 years after I produced the first super Arctic sable. I was like, you know what? I was like, I can call them whatever I want. Yeah, I was like, I have these bluish ones. So I started calling them Blucifers. It's not the best. Yeah, it's not the best name. It's fun. It's funny, but not all of them are blue. Some are like black and pink. They're really variable. But yeah, the super Arctic sables, the bluest Hognose I have that maintain some blue into adulthood. My only actual bluish Hognose as adults are super Arctic sable females. It always seems like the females that favors a little more that color spectrum, that reflection you're getting off, and that kind of gives that blue hue. But if you put an Xanthic in there, that's going to remove the pinks and stuff, and it's going to clean them up. So if you get any of those pink phase like super Arctic sables, well, they're no longer going to be pink because you have the Xanthic there. So yeah, like a Stormcloud super Arctic, yeah, they're going to be, I'd say, on par as blue. Maybe you might have a little like better blue there.
So many morphs to make. So many
there is.
To make, yeah.
Yeah, I hit a really nice Arctic Stormcloud this year. It's actually crazy looking. I've hit other ones and they're kind of nuanced. This one actually is pretty weird looking. And it's actually very blue too. But the Stormclouds as babies are very blue.
Correct.
As they get older, yeah. But as babies they're most impressive. I like them the most then. All right, flipping through your book. Cool thing about your book too, there's a lot of pictures. People love pictures.
The crazy thing, Jeff, is people read that book like 5-6 years. I mean, I get people coming back to me 5 or 6, 7 years after the book is out of print, saying, "Where can I buy the book?" And because all the information is still valid, and you can go online and you can get all this information, but it's just going to take you 100 years, you know.
Yeah.
Or you can get it all in one book and just look through it there, and hopefully it'll help you with some of your new breeding.
This is cool. You got the double helix with the base pair, so it shows the pairs of alleles on the helix. If I'm
just trying to explain to people some basic biology.
No, that's good. And that's the thing. It's like, have some like information here to for newer moderate keepers and people that like appreciate hognose and stuff, and long-term keepers, they appreciate this stuff.
And did you see the blank pages in the middle?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So people ask me, that was actually a mistake by the printer, but people ask me, what are the blank pages for? I saw my standard answer is so you can draw some pictures of snakes in there,
Oh, there you go. You could take notes, or you could put your own picture in there, pretend like you're in the book. Print out a picture of it, glue it in there. Elmer's glue your picture of your hognose in there, and show it to your friends. Like, I got a picture of a hognose in a book. Here it is.
You know the funny thing, Jeff. I don't know if you noticed, your photo's in the book, but my photo's not.
I know. Isn't that insane? That a picture of me in your book.
I forgot to put it. I was in a hurry, and my wife said, "What are you doing? You didn't put your picture in by the editor." I thought, oh shit! I knew I forgot something.
Oh man, reprint. You got the blank pages. Get the pictures of you in there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Well, I appreciate you writing the forward for the book. I've been getting hold of some of these ball python dudes, and so offered one guy who's a pretty big breeder the chance to write the forward, and I sent him. I said, "This is what Jeff did. You're going to get your photo in the book." And it's so the hardest thing about writing the book is getting photos.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know, dude. Getting photos from reptile people, I get it. I don't want to take photos. Like when people are like, "Hey, I'm buying this snake. It's like $1,000." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." And I can get more pictures. I'm like, yeah. I'm like,
just send me the money.
No.
But I say to them, "Hey, look, I'm giving you free publicity. It's going to be living for 5 or 6 years. People will still be buying the darn book. Just send me the photos, dude. I mean, it's not costing you anything other than an hour."
It's the reptile people, John, and it's like
others are so arrogant.
Yeah. No, you're not. It's just this. I get it. Here's the thing: when people ask like for pictures, I believe everybody wants to take the photos, and then they're like, "I really want to do this," and then a few hours goes by. The next day, they're like, "I'm going to do it later." Procrastination sets in. One of the biggest enemies of all reptile keepers and breeders, and that's like a big one, man. I've seen, like, I'd say, especially like even talking to people that were like, they're old school. And, if you ask them for a picture of something and you're trying to spend like thousands of dollars, man, there is a good chance you weren't even going to get photos. You can breed the snakes. It takes like 5, 8, 10, 15 years sometimes to master a species. You do all the work. You breed it, you incubate them, you hatch them, you get them feeding. And then it comes down to you post them, and it comes down to it. Can I get a picture? That's the line. That's the line where some people draw. They're like, fuck this. They're doing all the work up to that point.
But the cool thing is, a lot of the pictures, that people put on their Instagram pages now are actually good enough for print. And there's a lot of pictures that were, So I have to tell people, dude, just email these pictures to me. And I get some people, they're just never going to get in the book because they just can't get their act together and send me photos.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. That's what procrastination gets you guys. You don't get your picture in the book then.
Or they come to me at the end. They come to me at the end, when the book's already gone to print, and by the way, do you still want those pictures? Yeah, like 6 months ago, dude, like what is wrong with you?
Well, we got a good picture of a cinnamon in there for you, and that's one produced by me. And actually, that's somebody else's snake now. Somebody else bought that cinnamon.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's a cool one. Imagine, you're like, people are in the hoggers community. They're like, man, I'm sick of hearing about that Jeff guy. It's cool that there's this book out. And it doesn't have anything to do with him. And then, boom, first thing you see is a fucking picture of my face. Like, God dang it. This asshole shows up again.
Yeah. Well, Brent got the cover, because Brent got the last cover, and I offered it to him, and I felt bad because I took so long to get the book out.
Never feel bad for Brent. Of all the people in the Hognose community, don't feel bad for Brent, please. I don't think he's here anymore. I think he left.
He was here. He's a good guy.
Mostly.
Well, I don't want to say should we wrap it up, but John, I don't know how late you want to do this. For 2 hours in, we could go for 4 more hours or a couple minutes.
No, I think we killed it, guys. I mean, hey, I had fun. I hope you guys did. I hope it wasn't too boring, and
no, it's fun.
Hope people got something out of it. So that was cool, man. Just go buy the book now. I've got 1,000 books outside to sell.
Yeah.
There it is, everybody. Add to your Hognose collection. That's the cool thing. It's nice to have these. Because look, now this book, the first edition, can't even find it, and it's like $1 million. So there you go.
Oh yeah, this other one's going to be sold out. I'm not reprinting it. I don't want to, because I'll be doing the next one, and busy on other stuff. So. And people always do that. They come to me and then they want to buy the book and it's out of print. And then, okay, we'll go to eBay. Well, I found it here, but it's $400.
That's insane, $400. But that's cool. Wow. Yeah, that's the funny thing too. Like I didn't realize that. And I was like, oh yeah, that's one of the Pink Panthers that Brent produced way back. Because I was like, the picture looks, of course, it's so familiar because it's on your cover. But I was like, oh yeah, I think he actually had I don't know if it's the exact one, but I remember him posting some of the first Pink Panthers back in and I was like, I don't know, when was that? 2000.
Early 2000s. I mean, I was blown away by those.
Yeah.
They're incredible.
Yeah, maybe in 2000 even. Yeah, maybe in early, maybe like 2007 or 8, maybe. I'm not sure. When was your first one published? What year was this?
Yeah, I was just thinking, was it?
Yeah, that's one thing I think. What year was this?
2012. Oh wow, is that late? 2012. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining.
Cool.
And thanks for John coming on and giving us some back history of his life, reptile keeping, fun stories. John, it's really great to have people like you in the community.
Thank
you. Adding a positive aspect, doing what you like, writing these books, keeping the species, that you've liked throughout the years. Your history with, working with different animals is pretty cool. So, yeah, thanks for coming on.
Super, thank you. And if anybody's still got any questions, they think about stuff, please just ping me a message on Instagram or Facebook. I'm on there quite a lot.
Cool.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah,
thanks
everybody. I'm seeing if there's any last final questions.
I
don't think there is. Okay, we pretty much got everything.
We got it. Cool, man. All right, guys.
Killed it.
Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night. Cheers, guys.
Later, bud.
Yeah, that's fine. Hold on.